What? Do I need to scoot over at all?
Yep.
Good.
Alright. That's always the hardest part. Hello junior archaeologists, duly minted field techs, and whoever else might be watching this video. Today I'm got a special guest, Chris Webster, co-host, or should it be like main host?
Primary host.
Primary host of the CRM Archaeology podcast, and moderator of a few Facebook forums, like the, what is that, North American Field Tech Forum?
The North American Archaeological Tech Forum and the Archaeotechs Facebook group.
Right. And
Archaeofield Techs.
And he can be found at Random Acts of Science and at ArchaeoWebbing on Twitter.
Yep.
Anyway, I saw something on one of the posts he moderates about people complaining about a certain subject, but I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to get me dragged into that argument. I just wanted to do a video where I prepare you for what you might face in the field in terms of physical fitness. Because it seems like every season we get new people, and like they're totally shocked by how hard this job is.
Yes.
Perfect. That should be the end of the intro.
Okay. Well, I think when you're talking about what to expect in the field, what to expect physically, you're going to get 100% of that information from the interview, if not from the job posting. The job posting probably won't detail that. They usually don't. They might if it's extreme, kind of like the post we were talking about. If it's going to be an extreme circumstance, they might say, hey, this is ridiculously crazy, expect this. But most of the time, you won't see anything like that, so you won't know unless you get that phone call and then you say, well, what can I expect in a normal field day? What's the terrain look like? You know, what are we going to be expected to accomplish?
Well, I mean, the thing is that you get there. Like, so many people don't even bother asking that. They're just so happy to have a job. They say yes to anything. Can you haul 40 pounds across rugged terrain? Yes. Can you leap tall buildings in a single bound? Yes.
Right. Right. Well, and those are the standard questions. Can you haul 40, 50 pounds, in a day? It's basically a backpack. Personally, I don't know whose pack has 40 or 50 pounds in it anymore.
You'd be surprised.
Well, I would be. I mean, if you're collecting artifacts and shovel testing, then you can easily start building up some serious weight. If you've got a 3-ring binder full of reference material, that itself could weigh 10 pounds.
Well, I mean, 7 liters of water weighs a lot.
Well, that's heavy. You're right. That's totally heavy.
And that's my standard load.
Yeah. A gallon of water is, 8 pounds? So, yeah, it's...
How many liters is in a gallon?
Like 2.5 or something like that. 2.5.
So you're carrying 16, like almost 20 poun's to carry 7 liters.
Well, the nice thing about this, that gets lighter as the day goes on. As you get more tired, your load gets lighter.
But there's nothing like getting there, jumping out, and having to throw on that pack.
Right. But I think the thing is, unless you're working in the Midwest or the like the Plains states where there are no terrain challenges, and you can pretty much probably guarantee you know what you're going to expect physical fitness wise. Probably all the projects are really roughly the same. The place where you have the problem is mountain states.
Yeah.
You could have a project that has total crazy uphill slopes and it's going to seem like the entire project is uphill, or you can have a project in between those slopes in the valley and it's going to be totally flat.
Yeah, and I mean, and we were just talking about this, all these examples.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to mention names, but we were in central Nevada near Eureka on a project before you joined, because Chris and I have worked together for a while.
Yeah.
But before I met Chris, I was on a project where it was 9 hours of climbing uphill all day. And there was one point where it was a 50-degree slope.
Yeah.
And of course, it was on granite and loose talus slope. And of course, that's where we found a biface.
Of course.
And there's no slip exclusion in that project, according to someone we both know.
Right.
Even though I feel like that was incorrect information.
Right. So, and that's not to say there isn't archaeology on some of these slopes that should be excluded. Maybe it really was dropped there and it wasn't washed down from above or something like that. But it comes down to safety. There's no agency on the planet that would require you to go up a dangerous or unsafe slope just to find a site. Now, if you can make your way around the mountain and over the other side and up to the top, maybe, that obviously is something they want you to do.
Although, I have I've worked with a couple of archaeologists who, they didn't want to climb any mountains, and they were both from California, and they're like, this is unsafe, and I'm not going to climb any mountains, so it's up to the rest of the crew.
Right.
And it's hard to get to someone who's never been in a mountainous state.
Yeah.
That there's no way to not climb a mountain in a state, so if you don't want to climb a mountain, there's no survey.
Yeah.
There's no way to do it.
That's true. That's true. There's very few projects out here in the West where you don't have to climb something.
Was Rawhide hilly where you were, in your section?
Yeah, it was. It's hard. You're hard pressed to find a project in Nevada that doesn't have some amount of hills.
Yeah.
The one project I've done that didn't have any hills was one we were talking about earlier. That was it was on the flats. It was this huge plain, and then we kind of crested up into the fan, this alluvial fan.
Yeah.
But that was it. We had about a 30-foot elevation gain. And we had 2-mile long transects where, we were hitting the edge of the project area and then coming back, because the one end of our project area we were starting on was the road, the access road. And there was no road out in the middle of the playa. So we had to walk 2 miles out and 2 miles back. So we had a minimum 4-mile out and back.
Oh.
And we were at least doing 2 of those. And then sometimes we would do like half of one if we didn't find anything, which we weren't finding anything. We'd do like half of one and then come back. So our biggest day was about 13 miles, and that's in 6 hours because we had an hour commute on either end. So when you're not finding anything, you can expect to walk or walk a lot more. The only difference is, I would say, shovel testing projects. It doesn't matter if you're finding anything or not, because you still have to dig the hole. So it's really not going to slow you down any. The pace will be about the same. It's predictable. It just depends on the soils you're digging through and how deep you're going.
Oh my God. Well, before I came back to Reno, because I've just come back from North Dakota, there was like a project where there was like a section where it was literally like a quarter of a mile of survey, and it sounded like it would be super easy.
Mm-hmm.
You got your 3-hour round trip drive, but it was a 2-mile dead walk through peas that were already grown.
Like planted peas? Yeah.
I don't know if you could explain that to anyone who's never been walked through peas. There's no way to explain it.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, it's like walking through quicksand. That's the only way I can think about it.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind too is no 2 shovel testing projects are the same sometimes. It really depends on where they're at. And 3 examples I can give. Projects I did almost back to back. One was a shovel testing survey in Central Florida, southern Central Florida, near Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
Florida has a standard of 50 centimeter by 50 centimeter square shovel tests.
Then how far down?
We were hitting the water table at a meter plus.
Wow.
Yeah, and because these were such big shovel tests, we were actually working in pairs of 2. You weren't working by yourself. So you had one person constantly screening, one person shovel testing, and we were getting maybe one done in an hour. And maybe a little longer, actually. We weren't finding anything, but it was easy digging. We usually spent 15 minutes clearing vegetation because it was horrible. So,
but were you carrying full-size screens?
Yes.
Because if you have to dead walk with full-size screens, that is terrible.
Well, the good thing about this project is we didn't have to walk much at all in some of these places. We could actually just drive across the countryside to our shovel test. And it was so hot, middle of the summer and humid. We were actually driving, okay, let's pack everything up. And then we drive 30 meters to the next shovel test.
Oh my
It was
God.
horrible. It was actually horrible. But anyway.
You mean kind of like this time of the year, since it's mid-July.
Exactly. So we were doing that, but it was taking all day to do a handful of shovel tests because the size of the shovel test was the limiting factor. And the sand was super easy to dig through. It just went right through the screen. It was really wet sand for like the lower half of it, so that didn't go through as easy, but it was way easier than say loam or clay or something.
Yeah.
So another example. So we're doing in pairs, maybe 6 or 7 shovel tests in a day.
Yeah.
Okay, in an 8-hour day. We didn't have much of a commute, but we had a commute. So another example is when I worked for a company actually based out of South Carolina. We were on a big project, a 2,000-acre shovel testing survey in North Carolina, out on the coast near Cape Fear. And so we were doing 30-meter transects, 30-meter space shovel tests, 30-centimeter round holes. And they were going down 60 to 80 centimeters. So these were super easy shovel tests. We had 2 strats that we had to watch, basically.
Yeah.
We had like the root mat, and then one strat, and then another strat, and then it was sterile.
Yeah.
And then I'm not sure how they knew this, probably some pre-field testing or something like that. And then, but the thing is, if you were only encountering, say, one strat, sometimes you'll only encounter the top strat in your shovel test. You could literally fit the entire shovel test into your hand screen. It wasn't like a standing shaker. Literally fit the whole thing in there, lift up the screen. The sand was so dry and just like totally fluffy. that you would just completely, all the sand would go through and you'd be left with a pile of artifacts. Like you'd be left with like a pile of ceramics or something like that.
Yeah, but wouldn't you still need it, like take a picture of the profile or something?
No, we didn't take pictures of anything.
Oh, really?
We didn't take pictures of anything. We wrote down in our Write in the Rain notebook the level, you know, the different strats and the depth that we went to. We wrote down the soil color, but we never took them on cell because the two strats were literally the same two colors across the entire project area.
Plus, you can't forget the field techs who are always like, they just write in 10YR34.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter where they are.
Same as above. So we wrote that stuff in. If we had artifacts, we had to stick them all into a bag and write the shovel test information on, throw that in your backpack. But if you didn't have any artifacts, I'll never forget this because I was competing with another guy on the crew.
Yeah.
We were trying to see who could get the most shovel tests in a day. Now, I don't know what he was doing. I still try to dig, even when I'm going fast. I'm very competitive, but I'm still doing an ethical shovel test. It's not pinpointing at the bottom. You know, it's round all the way down. Sometimes it's even a little bigger because I'm digging it out. You know, my walls are not coming in. And it's to the proper depth. It was either the water table or I think 80 centimeters was our low point.
Some people are just really good.
Well, yeah, I mean, we had it down to a science. Him and I were doing, in an 8-hour day, really like a 7.5-hour day. We had about a 15-minute commute.
Yeah.
On the high end, we were doing in the mid to upper 80s for shovel tests.
Bad.
80 shovel tests in a day. That is working hard. And I had it down to about 4 to 5 minutes from the time I set my gear down to the time I was sighting in the next shovel test. And that's dig the whole thing, put it in the screen, pull it out. That's if you don't find any artifacts too. Yeah, and that's not including like you know, doing the cruciform, you know, for a positive or something like that. So.
Or the radials and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we were counting all those as individual shovel tests in our count.
Really?
Yeah. So if I got a positive and I had to dig 4 radials or 6, sometimes we would go. I think we would go 5 and then because we had to have 2 negatives. It's been so long since I shovel tested. So you got to dig 8 extra shovel tests minimum if they're all negative.
You know, that's like the main point. Is I feel like people don't understand that it's a physical job. You're in the classroom and you're in the lab, and then you expect it to be, you know, easy.
Well, and let's go to my third example, the other extreme of this whole thing. I did a project in Burlington, Vermont.
Yeah.
Vergennes clay.
Yeah.
It's something I will never forget. That's what they were calling it. It's apparently it's just this horrible thick clay that doesn't go through anything. And this project,
like when I was in northern Minnesota,
there's a lot of similar clays up there. I worked in northern Minnesota near East Grand Forks. Yeah, there's similar stuff. Now add the fact that it was rain/snowing the entire time of the project. So we were working in pairs because there were 50 by 50 shovel tests.
Wow.
And we were testing these sites, so we were doing it on a grid. And this shovel test was actually going so slow, and our crew chief wanted, I think they were going down only like 30, 40 centimeters.
Yeah.
But our crew chief wanted a stratigraphic profile from one of the tests. So he had us go down a meter. Maybe it was even 1.5 meters. I don't remember. It was a long ways.
Yeah.
So we had 2 shovels over there, 2 screens for 1 shovel test. And it took us a day and a half to do this shovel test because you would pull out, you're raining the whole time, probably 35 degrees because it was on the verge of snow like every single day.
Oh.
And then, so the shovel test is full of water. It's just filling up with water.
Yeah.
And you're mucking out just like 1 scoop of the shovel. You put that in the screen, you haul your screen up, and then you basically take your hands in gloves, your waterproof gloves, hopefully. My method was to pull it into like a loaf of bread style shape and then slice it with a very sharp trowel because you couldn't get it through the screen. It just wouldn't go through the screen. So you had to slice it thin and hope you hit an artifact. And I'll tell you what,
I've tried that before, but
you want to talk exhausting though. I mean, that was horrible. That was horrible, absolutely horrible. And once we finished that, when we were doing normal shovel tests, still 50 by 50s, we had to haul full-size screens with all of our cold weather gear and rain gear on through the hills of Vermont to get to these other testing sites.
Wow.
And it was exhausting.
Well, I can one up on you on that. Although we were both on the same project for different companies though. On the Ruby pipeline, we were doing a 2x2 shovel scrapes.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it was February. And there were 4 or 5 of us in this 2x2 with pickaxes, just chunking it out. It took us forever, and we still had to do it, 10 centimeter levels.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can't even screen it. You just have to pretend to screen it, bang on it for a while, and then throw it out.
Yeah.
And you could see artifacts in some of these ice chunks. But it's like, there were days where it was like 63 straight shovel tests that were negative, even though they were surface finds, and you could still see stuff in the chunks. But you just can't say, well, I can see something in there.
Right.
Oh, my God.
So yeah, if you don't want to kill yourself, two people that Richie and I worked with on a project. They were both on my crew, and good people. Don't get me wrong, you know, good, smart people. But neither of them, for very different reasons, could handle the heat and the survey that we were doing. It was really the heat that was killing the both of them. It was July, you know, in central Nevada.
And the thing is, it was like 20 degrees cooler where we were, because in Fallon, it was like over 100 degrees.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. We'd get moving again, and I swear to God, we didn't cover hardly any ground. I didn't even feel winded. And I'm not saying I'm no, you know, awesome, you know, strider through the desert. I mean, there's plenty of people. I'm probably in the bottom 10% for that, but these guys were in the bottom 1%, and that's saying something.
I mean,
you know,
sometimes I get the feeling that new students who come to this profession don't understand that we've worked with people who have done ultra marathons, which are 100 miles.
Yeah.
We know plenty of people who do marathons on a routine basis. You go like on 30-mile bike rides.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was like over 100 degrees, and just for fun I decided to go on a 5-mile run.
Yeah.
It's like, and people, I mean, you just have to understand that you have to have a certain level of fitness.
Yeah, it really does. It really does take that. And the only way to find that out is to either talk to people who have worked in that area, or ask those questions when you're getting the phone call.
Although sometimes, like the project I was just on in North Dakota, they couldn't tell me anything.
Well, sometimes they just don't know.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know. If it's a huge project like that, you could literally encounter every terrain circumstance in the entire state of North Dakota.
Yeah.
You
Which is like 2 or 3 terrain.
If you get a project in Colorado or Nevada or Wyoming or Utah or something like that, and it's more than 500 or 600 acres, you can probably expect to encounter just about every sort of terrain circumstance.
Yeah.
If it's small, it's either going to be on the side of a mountain or in a flat.
Oh my God, especially in Nevada.
Especially in Nevada.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So,
I mean, like, I wish I brought some boots, like, just to show people like how much you rip up boots.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other show too. Taking care of your gear, because so many people. I mean, I can kind of understand when people want to skimp on like camping gear. If they're not going to do too many of those projects, they might buy a $30 tent from Walmart or something like that. But I'll tell you what, never, ever, ever skimp on boots and gloves.
Well, the thing is, like, you can buy the nicest pair of, like, I've seen some super nice $300-$400 pairs of boots that have been ripped up in 2 to 3 months.
But it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because you're not seeing the podiatrist after that. You know.
Although I do know one guy, he likes light trail hikers, and he goes through them once a month.
I also like light trail hikers, high top trail hikers though, not like shoes. I have those too, and they're, you know, my last pair was a, who is that?
Dasky? No, Merrell's?
No. They're not.
Keens?
Keens. I had the Keen hikers. Now those are extremely light boots, extremely light.
Yeah.
Not good for, you know, much of anything as far as construction goes.
Yeah.
And honestly, for excavation, they might actually be dangerous because I'll put my shovel through them. But for hiking, I mean, that's what we do. We hike.
Yeah.
So when I was shovel testing, I had more stout boots because you never know where your shovel's going to go. I mean, sometimes you might actually. It sounds stupid, but I mean, you'll hit yourself with a shovel in the foot. But for just hiking out here in Nevada or any sort of field pedestrian survey that's not shovel testing, I mean. Personally, I don't mind spending $150 on those pair of boots, even if they're going to be destroyed. Chances are they'll last me the season.
Yeah.
But if you get on a project that's got a lot of really close brush and you're scraping the crap out of them, and you know you're just knocking up your boots, then you know they'll rip them up or something like that early. And I've done that before too.
Although you can take the opposite route. I use steel-toe logger boots always. People are making fun of me, but it's like I've had those boots for like what, 7-8 years.
Yeah, I mean you can do that if you can stand that kind of boot. My feet get super hot. I don't know how you can do it.
Well, it's the same way I wear jeans all the time.
Yeah, I can't do that either.
and then of course we know that archaeologist. Well, maybe you know her, but she always insists on wearing shorts.
Yeah, which is something you shouldn't get used to because a lot of clients won't allow you to wear shorts.
Boo.
I know. In fact, Richie and I are going on a project next week, and I haven't asked about the dress code. But since it's a county project, my guess is full safety gear and no shorts.
Oh crap.
We're gonna have like road flaggers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's right next to the road, and it's a full county project. So
I've got my safety vest, my boots, and 3 kinds of helmets.
Well, hopefully we don't have to wear hard hats, but I haven't heard on that either. So.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Well, I got to wear glasses too.
I hope not. So, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's about it. Time for lunch.
Time for lunch.
Yeah, all right, so thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you know any new field tech who wants to know what to expect in this job, pass along this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. And I guess that's about it. I was gonna add a disclaimer, but then it's like, well, what else can I add?
Nah, it's fine.
Cool.
Cool.
Oh, feel like getting lunch?
Yeah, we can do that. I usually have to write down pretty much everything I'm going to say. I don't always follow it exactly, but it gives me a guideline. Yeah.
Well, usually I think about it, but even when I think about it, it takes a while.
Well, sometimes there's just too much to say, and you'll miss something. You stumble over your words because you're thinking about it as you're saying it.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I do.
All right, hello, Junior. No, wait.